Have you heard of the phrase trickle-down economics? It's the idea that if we give tax cuts to the rich and big business, they'll use that extra money to benefit the economy and to boost it, and that eventually that benefit will trickle down to the rest of us. The phrase has been around for decades, and some people still believe in it, but some people say it's never really worked. Now in 2025, trickle-down economics is back on the spotlight because many other tax cuts passed years ago are about to expire, so there's a big debate heating up from people who are against the tax cuts or people who are for the tax cuts, and there's a big debate about how trickle-down economics plays into this. In this video, I'm going to explain what trickle-down economics is. I'm going to share the points of view for and against trickle-down economics, and I'm also going to give a personal story that really changed how I feel about tax breaks forever. Before we get started, if you like content that comes from a centrist point of view, that gives you all the facts and doesn't give you bias from the left or right, please subscribe to my channel so you can keep up to date with my new videos. Let's get started today. So let's get started by explaining what trickle-down economics actually is. It's the idea that if we give tax cuts to the rich or big corporations, they'll spend that money in creating jobs, raising wages, and promoting growth, and it'll eventually help all of us out. In theory, it sounds good. Help the top so the benefits spread down, and that's where the name comes from, trickle down. Some people also call it supply side economics or pro-growth tax strategy. Same idea, same policy, give more to the top so it flows down to the bottom. Why are trickle-down economics relevant in 2025? It's because this year, 2025, a lot of the tax cuts passed by President Trump in his first term are set to expire. So there's a renewed push to renew them, and depending on who you talk to, people can say that trickle-down economics, tax cuts, are just the solution we need right now, or the other side, they'll say it's just another giveaway for the wealthy. So I started doing some research to see how trickle-down economics is relevant this year, and I found a video from AOC where she's talking about how in 2017 a lot of tax cuts were given to the rich and big corporations for things such as private jets or yachts, and how to be able to renew these tax cuts, we actually have to cut a lot of programs that a lot of people rely on.
In 2017, Donald Trump and the Republican Party forced through one of the largest tax giveaways to the rich in modern American history. We're talking about CEOs and people being able to them proposing tax cuts on tax write-offs on yachts and private jets, but most importantly, some of the most broad-based tax cuts for the rich and the 1% in this country that we have ever seen. So why is that important to today? Those tax cuts had a sunset period, and that sunset period occurs in 2025. The cost of these tax cuts are to the tune of about $4 trillion. And in order to extend them, you need to find $4 trillion. Well, where do you look? Under the guise of waste, they are going to try to cut and gut some of the most essential federal programs that we've got.
And I also found a video from former Labor Secretary Robert Rake where he talks about how the proposed renewal of the 2017 tax cuts would actually help out the big corporations, not regular everyday Americans.
Trump wants to cut the corporate tax rate down to 15%. This would give the 5 largest banks a $4.1 billion tax cut. The 5 largest drug makers, a $3.1 billion tax cut. The 5 largest U.S. oil companies, a $2.2 billion tax cut. And the 5 largest grocery stores, a $1.7 billion tax cut.
On the other side, you got voices like Patrick Bet-David who are saying that this new proposed tax cuts would actually include things like cutting taxes on overtime and cutting taxes on tips, which would help out the middle class and everyday Americans.
No tax on tips, no tax on even overtime.
So clearly, there are voices on both sides of the aisle, those who are against and those who are for the tax cuts and the renewal. But in this video, I don't just want to take a side. I want to actually talk about trickle-down economics and figure out, or at least put it to you to decide if trickle-down economics work. So think of the economy like a big pie. And let's say that the rich people are already sitting at the table and they have plenty of slices of pie on their plate. But trickle-down economics says give them even more slices and eventually they'll share. But critics say that in practice, when we give rich people more pie or more tax cuts, they don't actually share it. They actually just keep it. So we never see the benefit of trickle-down economics. But most of the money remains at the top, and it goes to things like executive bonuses, stock buybacks, or it's being invested on things that do not help raise wages or create more jobs. Meanwhile, public services such as schools, roads, healthcare, those get cut because tax revenue drops. So that's a big concern, that tax cuts at the top don't always reach those at the bottom. Now, to be fair, trickle-down economics could work if tax breaks came with real conditions attached. We've had tax breaks in the past where they were only given to corporations or rich people who actually invested the money from the tax breaks back in their communities or to create more jobs. For example, the Small Business Jobs Act gave tax relief for businesses, but only businesses who were actually hiring new workers. And during the Great Recession, parts of the American Recovery and Reinvestment Act gave incentives to companies who invested in renewable energy and reinvestment projects for infrastructure with strict guidelines. So you see, when there's strings attached to tax cuts, the money from those tax cuts can actually help the people, not just help those at the top create more profit. Now, you might be wondering, if trickle-down economics doesn't always work the way we're told it's going to work for us, then why do so many people still support it? One of the reasons is that many people genuinely believe and admire the wealthy. When entrepreneurs, business owners, or people they consider have made it say that tax cuts are good, they automatically believe them. And sometimes it's not just admiration, it's aspiration. Many people support tax cuts for the rich because they believe that one day they too will be rich. They say to themselves, why would I support higher taxes when I plan on being successful? It's part of the American dream and it's powerful. But others support tax cuts because they're already small business owners or self-employed, so any tax cut sounds like a good idea that might benefit them. They don't like paying taxes. Nobody likes paying taxes. So naturally a tax cut sounds like a good idea to them. But here's the tricky part. A lot of the people who support tax breaks for the rich do not realize that tax breaks come with very specific criteria, like you have to make a certain amount of income, or you have to own a certain type of business, or be in a certain type of tax bracket. That's something I learned the hard way. I actually had a moment where I saw this up close. Back in college, I donated a car that broke down, and I thought it would help me lower my taxes. I wasn't making much money, but I figured it was a smart thing to do. But when tax time came and I was ready to file my taxes, I was excited because I had what I thought was a big tax break. And I found out that I didn't make enough money to actually qualify for the tax credit. It was built for those people who already made enough money, not for me. So I ended up giving my money and got nothing in return. This made me see that a lot of the tax breaks are designed for people who already have money. And that's what a lot of people don't see or realize. Good questions to end the video with. Do these tax cuts really help the whole economy or just the people at the top? And do these tax cuts come with strings attached, or are we just hoping that the people will invest the money back to benefit the whole economy? Some people say trickle-down economics works. Other people say trickle-down economics has been in place for decades and we're still waiting to see results. I'm not here to tell you who's right or wrong. I'm just here to tell you what trickle-down economics actually is and who it benefits. If you like what you saw today, please hit like and subscribe and share the video with somebody who's also interested about trickle-down economics and might not know what they actually mean. Until next time, I really appreciate you watching the video and have a great day.